Well, here's part 10. As I showed you in the teaser on 9, I got the bed on the trailer, and I'm now working on wiring it. So they gave me a book with a little wiring diagram in it, and sorry I can't get a good angle here, but as you can see, it's got lights up in the headache rack, lights down here, and there's side marker lights running down the sides, of course, and has a license plate area with lights in it. So the nice part is the big connector for the trailer plugs right in, so I don't even have to worry about that one. But at this point, I'm gonna get the lights all wired up, and I also bought an installation kit which consists of 6 of these heavy plates, real heavy stuff, grade 8 bolts and hardware, and just some simple instructions on mounting the bed to the frame. So hopefully I can get that part taken care of here this morning, maybe in the early afternoon, and then I'll work on finishing up the grill and stuff and try to get all that done. Okay, as I'm starting to wire up this bed, I wanted to show you something that I do whenever I'm doing a big bundle. This wire bundle or harness coming off the bed was cut to all the same length. All these wires were the same length. And what I normally do is I sequence the cuts so that they're not the same length, because if you did, you'd have all these wire connectors in one spot, you'd end up with a big bulky area to try to tape and conceal or protect. Doing it this way, you can see with the connectors on, it doesn't make it big and bulky, and you can still use, some plastic sheathing to get around those after they're taped and protect them. Just something I do, a little, you might find it useful. I think it's handy to do it that way. Generally somebody who's just doing some wiring, they'll just follow the lead of having them all cut off at the same length and put all those connectors on, and it just becomes a problem. Just something you might find useful. Well, I've made some progress, but I also have some problems. I've got everything wired. Backup lights work, turn signals work, parking lights work, but I'm missing a wire for my brake lights. So I'm trying to contact the company that sells the beds and find out what's going on, because it's calling for a red wire for the brake lights, and the red wire just doesn't exist. So something's amiss. But I did manage to get a bolt back here and that down brace. Again, plasma cutter comes in really handy. And I had to build that. What I used was a piece of 1-inch square tubing, 1x3 I think, or maybe 2, I don't know. And then of course the plate that they supplied and the grade 8 bolt. So I don't think that's going anywhere. And for now I have, the rear, this one, and then I'm going to come up with something for the front because of that gap. But for now I'm pretty happy that I have this in place. The next step I'm going to do is build my gas bracket, I guess, because the bed has one here, but there's my neck way up there, and I think I'm better off doing something up here rather than try to extend it way back there, because if I want to add a toolbox later, that's the space it'll be in. So I'm going to make the filler neck something like that. It'll be underneath the bed, and that gives me an opportunity to get out the handy dandy plasma cutter again. And what I'll do is I'm going to make a plate that'll run underneath the bed this way, and then I'll make a secondary plate that I will weld to that one, and I'll cut my hole for the filler neck. So just another reason to use my plasma cutter. Well, here's what I've come up with. That bracket. And I'll show you where it goes. I showed you the gas neck being low. So what I did is I clamped up a piece up top, got it in place, and then I calculated the angle for the neck and made that bracket. The only problem I think I'm going to have at all is that this is just a little bit lower. You can see the neck, maybe you can see from this angle, the neck is going to be just a little bit lower than the top of the tank, but for the most part I think it'll serve its purpose because the opening is above, the opening of the filler neck is above the high point of the tank. We'll see. If I have to change it later, I will, but for now I'm going to get this bracket painted up and get it mounted, and then I'll show you what that looks like afterwards. Thought I'd get it up here out in the open. As I was showing before, I'm still baffled by this brake light because the instructions call out for a red wire in this bundle, and there's no red wire, but there's my brake light, and I'm just got to try to figure that one out. I got the gas mount done, and I even added a little hole for the tether for the gas cap. So I think that'll work out, and if it doesn't, I bolted it in instead of welding it, and that way if I need to I can change things. But the only thing I could see being a problem is that low point in that filler neck, and at most I would have to come up here and cut this out some and bring it up, and that way I would still have access to the angle. But that's where it's at. Obviously I still have to get the exhaust stacks made for it. You can see I have a gap there, and it worked out to be 6 inches. I'd planned for almost 8, but it looks better with 6. At least I think it does. So I'll continue to get this front end together, and I should be, well, I might be able to drive it tomorrow. Of course the exhaust will be pretty loud, but I don't care. Well, I think I figured out what's going on with the wiring. The bundle that came on the truck, it only has 5 wires in it, and this requires 6 because the 5 operate the backup lights, left turn signal, right turn signal, parking lights, and ground. So there's no input for the brake light. And so what I'm going to have to do, or what I've already started to do, was separate this outer bundle here. If you see this yellow wire, that is supposed to be the left turn signal, and it comes into this light, comes out, and goes into this light. What I'm planning to do is turn the 2 outer lights into my brake lights. No, I'm sorry. Turn my 2 outer lights into my turn signals and make the inner lights, along with the ones up on the bed, be my brake lights. I'd rather have more brake lights than turn signals. So I'm undoing what I've already done, but it'll work out for the better, I think. And so I'm in the middle of that process. Other than that, I have, as you can see, it's raining. Other than that, I have the front end together, and I have the parking lights in place, and I think it looks pretty good. Still have a front bumper to go, but I'll show you all the lights working once I get these brake lights on. Well, there it is. The only light that's not working, and I think it's just a ground problem, is this license plate light right here. Otherwise, as you can see, we've got everything else on. Brake lights, left turn signal, right turn signal, and the ever popular backup lights. I like it. I think it looks pretty darn good. And then, let me show you the other side of that. You can see the redneck LEDs look a bit red instead of orange, but everything's working. So I'm pretty happy with it. Now it is, today is what, April 16th? I started on this March 16th. So technically 4 weeks and I can drive it. Now I still got to put a front bumper on, and there's a lot of little detail stuff that needs to be addressed, a dash and stuff like that, but I can drive this truck. That was a pretty good goal, I think, and I'm pretty happy with that. And I think if you do the numbers, because I have to work on the weekends and I work long shifts, I'm still having to, I think it works out to be 16 total days. Now, of course, I still got to put the exhaust on and stuff like that. But I can drive it. And in fact, I'm probably going to drive it over to a friend's house here in about 10 minutes. So, I'll probably do one more follow-up video when I get everything else taken care of. But I think this is enough for part 10 of FrankenTruckHD. Thanks for watching, and I enjoyed it. I figured I'd do one more follow-up, just because I like the way it sounds right now. We'll call that bonus footage.